Today we're going to make a delicious pressure fried chicken. You may call it roasted chicken or Kentucky Fried Chicken style fried chicken. Let's get started. Hello everybody, Chef Bob here today, and today we're going to make roasted chicken or pressure fried chicken or Kentucky Fried Chicken style fried chicken. What that means is we're going to use a pressure fryer, and a pressure fryer is basically a pressure cooker filled with oil. So I'm going to go over some of the basics of that because there's a lot of misinformation out there that you read online or see in videos, so I'm going to give you the facts on that. We're going to go through the original KFC recipe, which is different. I had a prior video on some KFC style or Kentucky style chicken tenders, which is a different breading style, which I preferred. But on this one we're going to be authentic to what you would call the Kentucky Fried Chicken style recipe with the 11 herbs and spices. So we're going to cover that. I'm going to cover the wash, and we're going to make chicken tenders today, some chicken breast patties and chicken tenders. So what I'd like to talk about first is pressure frying. And pressure frying is nothing more than using a pressure fryer with oil as opposed to water. When you pressure cook with water, you are heating it up to anywhere from 5 to 15 pounds of pressure, so your water temperature is going to go up to about 250 degrees. But you cook basically on the pressure. The pressure is what you're going for, and that'll determine the water temperature. You really don't monitor the temperature, you monitor the pressure when you pressure cook with water. When you pressure fry with oil, it's a little different. You monitor the temperature of the oil more or less, and the pressure may build up to that maximum and it may not, but you do not overheat the oil. So for example, with water you go above the boiling point of 212 to 250 degrees. With oil boils at around 590 to 600 degrees. You're never going to boil oil. That's not what it's about. So you heat the oil to about 350 to 370 or 375, which is a good frying temperature. I like to do about 375. At that point you'll put in your chicken, and with the oil alone you won't have any pressure because the oil isn't boiling. So if you put your lid on with 370 oil, you won't have any pressure. So what happens is when you put in your chicken or any other items which you're going to pressure fry, what will create the pressure is the moisture in the food will start to come out, and that will turn into steam and generate your pressure. So that's the basics of pressure frying. So all you have to do is make sure that your pressure cooker, and you have to use a manual pressure cooker for this, by the way, because an electric pressure cooker you can't control the temperature. I'm going to use an induction burner and monitor the temperatures with that. Otherwise, it's a standard pressure cooker facts. Make sure that your valves are all clean and functioning and it locks correctly and it's no cracks or anything. Oh, and as far as gaskets, I've heard a lot of rumors, oh, pressure frying with oil is going to destroy your gaskets. Most of the modern manual pressure cookers use a silicone gasket. That's good to 425 or at least 450 degrees without a problem. We're cooking at 350 to 375. The gasket's fine. It won't destroy it. Just to get the facts straight. So those are the facts on pressure frying, just to calm down any fears or worries about that. And also, the style of manual pressure cooker I'm using has these stainless steel arms which go over the lid. So if you're worried about lids exploding or popping up, you can get a style like this. So we'll come back to that in a minute. Now, we're going to use what is supposed to be the original Colonel Sanders 11 herbs and spices recipe. So let's get started with mixing that up. And I'll put that in this bowl. And I'll go through the list, and I wrote it down to make sure I don't give you incorrect information. So the first ingredient is going to be a 2/3 tablespoon of salt. Put that in there. Then a 1/2 tablespoon of thyme, 1/2 tablespoon of basil, 1/3 tablespoon of oregano. We then go to 1 tablespoon of celery salt. We then go to 1 tablespoon of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of dried mustard. From there we go to 4 tablespoons of paprika, 2 tablespoons of garlic salt, 1 tablespoon of ground ginger, and 3 tablespoons of white pepper. I'm just going to whisk it together real quick. And to that, I'm going to add 2 cups of flour. And that's basically going to be our breading, or our mix. And that's what it should look like. Now let me get these off the counter and we'll go to the next step. Alright, for the next step, I'm just going to make our egg and milk wash. Now, some say that the original technique did not involve an egg and milk wash, just with water. And I've used it without a wash. If you have your chicken wet, you know, just wet with water, that'll work fine. You don't need to do this. But I'll show you how to do this just in case you want to. You can. It's optional. I've done it without, and it turned out fine. But if you're used to using an egg wash or egg and milk wash to batter your chicken, then I'll just show you how to do that. It's simple. You can put it in a bowl and whisk it, but I'll just show this step in case, you know, some people maybe have arthritis or problems with the wrists or hands and don't like the whisk stuff. So I'll just use a little mixer, a little ninja mixer just to mix this up. So I'm going to put in 2 eggs and about a 1/4 cup of milk. It's not really critical. Let's put this on. And that's that. Now we have our milk and egg wash. Okay. When we get this out of the way, we'll go to the next step. Okay, for this next step, I'm going to make our chicken breasts uniform in thickness. I'm just going to use a meat tenderizer hammer and pound them flat because, you know, whenever you're cooking anything in general, you want to have pieces either the same size or the same thickness so that they fry evenly and at the same time. So what I'll do is, I'll just take a chicken breast here. And if you want, you can put a piece of plastic over it because sometimes it'll have a tendency to splatter. And I'm just going to pound it to try to get a uniform thickness. I'm not going to try to make it over thin. I'm just looking at the thinnest part of the chicken breast and I'm just trying to match that. Okay. So now that I have that now, I'm going to make some of these into chicken patties for chicken sandwiches. So in that case, I'm going to try to eyeball it and say what would be good, you know, for a chicken sandwich, and the rest I'll make into chicken tenders, right? So, you know, this one, I'll just cut it in half like this. Okay. And that'll just be 2 chicken patties. Okay. We'll take another one. We're just going to do the same thing. Now this one isn't as bad as far as the uniformity of it. So I'll just a little bit. You don't have to overdo it and turn it into mush. And we'll leave that one as is. Now here's a large one. So this one I'll pound again. And I'm going to finish this. You don't need to see me do all this. So I'm just going to finish this up and then I'll bring you back when I'm done. Alright, now for the next step, we're going to take our pieces which we've cut for chicken sandwiches and those for tenders. We're going to dip them in the wash and then bread them. I'll just show you how to do that. It's very simple to do. Oh, so to do that, I'm also going to take our mixture from before and just pour it into this bowl. The ceramic bowl, the lower bowl, so it's easier to get into versus this larger mixing bowl. Okay. So you just take one of your pieces and just dip it into your egg wash. And then dip it into your breading mix. Simple as that. Do another one. Get a good coating on there. Let it drip. Put in your breading mix. Make sure it gets a good coating on there. So I'm going to continue with the rest of these, and I'll bring you back when I'm finished. Okay, I have my oil heating up. I'm at 360. I'm trying to get it to 375. And I want to mention a couple more things about when you're pressure frying. So you only want to use, this is a 10-quart model. And I have approximately 3 quarts of oil. That's the most you would want to use. So the oil is about up to here. It's about 2 to 2.5 inches maximum. You want to cover your chicken. You don't want to overfill it. For a 10-quart size stock pot or pressure cooker, the most you would want to use would be 3 pounds of chicken. So you never want to fill it all the way up or 2/3 fill it. You want to keep it fairly low when you're pressure frying. So if there is any oil splash inside, it's only going to splash up to about here. It's never going to come up to the top. And you want to make sure you have enough oil to cover the chicken when you put it in here. So when this gets up to temp, I got a little bit more to go. What I'll do is you put your chicken in. You put all of your chicken in and you leave the lid off for 1 minute. That minute allows the moisture that comes off immediately to come out, so you don't get overpressured from the beginning just from all the moisture. So you put your chicken in, and you also stir it for a minute to break it up so it doesn't all stick together. After that 1 minute, you've stirred it, it's broken up, and it's already at that point very brown. You then put your lid on, and we're going to keep it for, you can keep it anywhere from about 7 to 8, 9 minutes depending. If it were legs and quarters, I'd probably leave it maybe 9 minutes in there. But with these breasts, and we pounded them thin, I'm going to use 7 minutes. So we have the minute initially, 7 minutes with the lid on, and then as I release the pressure, it's going to take me about another minute or so to release the pressure. So that'll add to the cooking time also. Now, one other point, I'm using an induction cooktop, and it has a temperature readout. Do not go by that. That is the temperature underneath the top, not the temperature of the oil. If you can see, I'm running a separate probe in my oil, and I'm monitoring it that way. So I see what the actual oil temperature is, and I see what the temperature is on my induction cooktop. I did a trial before this to heat up the oil to the temperature I wanted of the oil, and marked off the read off on my induction cooker. So when my induction cooker reads around 280 or so, that's the setting I want to have my oil at, around 370, 375. And it's dependent on a number of things. The type of pressure cooker you're using, the materials in the pressure cooker, how much oil, the dimensions. So it's a number of things that are involved in the difference between them. So, in my case, it seems like there's quite a bit of difference, but as long as you know what temperature to set on your induction cooker, some don't have temperature, some have power levels. That's fine. Just find out what power level gives you approximately 360 or 370 degrees in your pressure cooker. So I'm up around 360-ish. I'm just going to wait a minute or two, and then we'll put our chicken in, stir it around. After a minute, put the lid on, and time it for about 7 minutes. I'll be back in about a minute or two. Okay, so my oil has reached the temperature I want, which is approximately 365 to 375, in that range. I've taken my probe out, and I'm going to put my chicken in there. Once my chicken's in there, I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute. Like I said, I have some larger pieces which I'll make for chicken sandwiches, and then some smaller pieces I'm going to use just as tenders. Again, about 3 quarts of oil maximum, about 3 pounds of chicken maximum is what you want to do. Make sure it's all covered. Now, as you can see so far, if the overhead camera is picking this up, is right now it's just like traditional deep frying on any stove or hot plate. 375 degree oil with chicken. Gonna time it now. We're going to give it a minute. After a minute, we're going to stir it around, put the lid on, and then time it for about another 7. It's as simple as that. Not going to touch right now. I want it to brown. If I stir it right now, I'll just knock all that breading off. So I want it to set. That's what this first minute's going to do for us. Right now, I'm looking at the mark inside the pressure cooker, which you can't see. The halfway mark is up here and the oil is down here. And the bubbling is below the halfway mark. So again, there's no oil splashing, bubbling. and we're maintaining the temperature with the induction cooker, so we know our temperature isn't going to rise. If it starts to rise when we put the lid on due to the pressure, the induction cooker will just lower the power to keep the temperature the same. We've hit that minute mark. We're going to put our lid on. And this style locks with this arm. Once you get it tight, you give it about 5 good turns. I can see some steam coming out the valve, so we know that's open, it's not blocked or anything. We'll put our little weight on here, and we're just going to time it for 7 minutes. Now you see there's not pressure right away, because the oil alone won't develop the pressure. That has to be the moisture coming out of the chicken. So in certain cases, you may not, if you're only making a little bit of chicken, this may not jiggle at all. There's still some pressure. Now this is an 8-pound pressure cooker, an 8-pound limiter. So if we don't hit 8 pounds of pressure, that's not going to jiggle. We may only reach 6 or 7 pounds based on the water content in the chicken. That's what you need to know. That's what the difference is. Right now, our induction cooker is still set at the same temp. We know our oil is the same temp. And the pressure is anywhere, you know, from technically 0 up to 8 pounds. Now if I lift this up, you'll hear some pressure. See, there's some pressure, but it's not 8 pounds yet. So we're very low pressure. Steady temperature, lower than 8 pounds of pressure. So I'm just going to let this go like this. Now we're at 2.5 minutes total from when I put it in, and I'll bring you back here once we hit 8 minutes, which would be the initial 1 minute plus 7 minutes of cooking. So at the 8-minute mark, I'll bring you back here, we'll release the pressure and take a look. Okay, our time is about up. As you can see, we finally reached the 8 pounds of pressure, our weight's spinning. And remember, there's also backups on a pressure cooker. Besides having these safety arms, there's also an emergency pressure valve and 2 release valves, 2 release holes on the gasket. So you basically have 3 pressure release mechanisms. 1, 2, 3, plus the safety arms if you're worried about the safety. I just thought I'd point that out with this model of pressure cooker. I see we hit the 8-minute mark. I'm turning my power off to the oil. I will now, and if you want to, you can either use a towel or something so you don't get burned by the steam. I'm going to lift this up initially with a fork here. Let our pressure out, rapid release. I don't recommend just pulling it off the top immediately. I like to do it this way to initially let the major pressure out, then I'll lift it completely off in a minute once it's about done. And this should add about another minute to the cook time. So this is going to give us a total cook time of about 9 minutes. The initial minute, 7, we turn the heat off, and this will make it. The other minute, so 1 plus 7 plus 1 is 9 minutes of cooking. So now the pressure is dying down quite a bit. I'll pull that off. Now don't unclamp it yet. I still see quite a bit of steam coming out. I'm just going to wait a minute or two. Don't get impatient, that's the key. It's not going to blow out of here because the pressure is low, but you're still going to have hot steam coming at you, so you just want to give it time. And plus, with this style of pressure cooker, you slowly loosen it up. So it's not like the lid's going to come completely off in one shot. It can't go anywhere. These arms hold it in place. So now, it's a very low level of steam. If I want to, I can start to slowly release this. As you see right now, I have it loose a bit, and there's no pressure, so you see we're safe. So you just go slow. Don't be impatient. Just use some common sense. You see, and pull it back this way. So the steam goes out that way. Okay. Now I'm going to remove it. We'll take a look. There's one of our little tenders. It's one of our patties. Another chicken tender. tenders. There's one of our patties and some more tenders. So I'm just going to pull the rest of these out, let it drain, and then, whoa, watch out for that. Just be careful pulling it out. As you see, if you drop it in the oil, it's going to splash, no matter how you're cooking it. Did we get all the pieces out? I'm trying to fish around. Oh, there's a little piece. I think that's everything. Okay, we have it all out. So, oh, tender was hiding. It's bubbling in here, so it's a little hard to see every little piece. There we go. So, let me hold this up to the camera, show you a look. And then, here, this is what it looks like. Now I'm going to let this cool before we taste it, because it's red hot. So, let me get this out of the way and bring you back here in a minute or two once this cools, and we'll give it a taste test. But it looks delicious, and it smells great. Okay, it hasn't been that long, but it smells delicious. I can't wait. I'm going in. I know it's still a little too hot, but we're going to try it. And I'm going to go for one of these tenders. Let me just hold that up to the camera. Look at that. Beautiful golden brown, and it smells just like the kernels, if you know what I mean. Let me cut this up, because I know it's very hot. And it's juicy. I can see it's juicy and brown. Let's give it a taste. Mmm. 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 It's very hot. It's very delicious. That's one of the reasons you do pressure fried technique. Excuse me. That's one of the reasons you do a pressure fried technique, because it keeps the juices in. It locks the juices in. That pressure helps keep all the natural juices in there and keeps it very tender, moist, delicious. And as you can see, the coloring is perfect. Cooked. It took a total of 9 minutes in the pressure fryer. Right, 1 minute with the lid off, 7 minutes with the lid on, 1 minute to depressurize and take the lid off. So 9 minutes of total cooking time. Prep time, you know, you can do that prep ahead of time even if you want to do bigger batches or multiple batches throughout the day. I use chicken breast. It works equally well with legs, thighs, wings, you name it. So I hope you try this recipe at home. Don't be afraid to pressure fry, but remember to follow the safety tips I showed you. Pressure cooker in good working order. No more than 3 quarts of oil in a 10-quart pot. If you're using an 8-quart pot, I'd keep it to maybe 2 quarts of oil. 6-quart pot, you're going to have to, determine based on the size and dimensions. Probably want to go above 2 quarts of oil. Never more than 2 to 3 pounds of chicken in a smaller one. A large one like this could handle 3 pounds of chicken. Don't go above 375. Make sure you control the temperature of the oil. Don't worry about the pressure. As long as your pressure cooker is fully functional, that'll maintain the pressure for you. Make sure your chicken isn't overly soaking wet, which I don't see how it would be, but if you make it like we did, that won't be a problem. Follow those steps and you shouldn't have any issue. Now again, unless your manufacturer specifically states don't ever use it for pressure frying, I'm not sure why they would state that, but read the manual, and if you feel safe to go with one, I know this model here has been used for many, many years for pressure frying chicken. It used to be a Fagor brand, Rapid Chef. I think it was Magic Chef or Magic Cooker. Now it's another, the Magafisa brand, I believe it is, from Spain. It was always made in Spain, this model. So if you're looking for a pressure cooker like this, you can still find them. I'll have a link underneath my video here. I believe it's on my Amazon page. Also, if you want to find one like this particular pressure cooker, it works great. I haven't had any problem with it. I'm not concerned with having any issues with it. It's very solid, multiple safety levels. So, if you want to try it, I've shown you the proper things to do so you don't have to worry and cook it safely, provided your equipment can handle it. And the recipe that I gave you, the 11 herbs and spices, seems to be right on the money. So I hope you try this at home. If you feel safe with it, want to do it. Again, if you don't want to use the pressure cooker, let me just say this. You can make this entire recipe just deep frying normally. You don't need the pressure fryer. I just want to show you how to use a pressure fryer. So you can deep fry this in a Dutch oven or in a pot on any type of burner or stove, the way you normally would deep fry. It's still going to taste delicious with this seasoning mix. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you'd like to see more like it or some other videos, please leave a comment below. Give me a thumbs up, a like, subscribe to my channel. And let me know what you think of this. If you want to try this, and if you think it tastes like the original recipe, or if you just like it because it tastes very good. Thank you for watching. I'm going to have some more chicken right now.